Так, Алексей, начинаем.
Okay, dear colleagues, we're beginning our conference called Developing Key 21st Century Skills to Learn in English. And today we're going to be talking about developing critical thinking, communication skills, creativity, collaboration, and a number of other skills in students. Let me introduce myself and tell you a few words about the conference program. This will take only 1 or 2 minutes. And after that, our first speaker is already here, and she is ready to tell you about a lot of very interesting things. So my name is Alexei Konobiev. I hold a PhD degree, and I work as academic director at Skyeng Online School and at Sky's division, which is a digital platform for universities and colleges. And so basically today we're going to be focusing on developing key 21st century skills, not only, mostly in learners who are either at university level or are ready to join a university. And just a few words about our today's program. So our today's speaker is Dr. Tomai Alexiou, President of Greek Applied Linguistics Association, Associate Professor at Aristotle University of Thessaloniki at the English Language Department. And Dr. Tomai is a textbook writer. Her textbooks are used in Greece at different levels, and they hold numerous awards, and they have been published by the world's leading publishers. Today, we're also going to hear other wonderful speakers. So we have a colleague from Tunisia, Najla Bahri, who will tell about the 21st century skills for the teacher. Then we will be able to listen to the Vice Dean of the Faculty of Foreign Languages and Area Studies of Moscow State University, Doctor of Education, Professor Svetlana Titova, who will tell you about developing speaking and critical thinking skills of students with the help of visual didactic online materials. After that, we will talk about developing students' individual learning paths with Sky's resources, and that will be a presentation from Kirill Mirgorod, who works with Sky's. And then I will tell you about teaching students to learn with online English foreign language courses and materials. And I hope I will be able to provide not only interesting resources, but also an interesting perspective on this issue. And the conference will be concluded by a presentation in Russian. So we have 2 working languages of the conference. First of all, it's English, and the last presentation is going to be conducted in Russian. It will be about the changes in the Russian final state exam and how the focus of the exam has shifted onto personal results, onto becoming more practical and becoming more connected with other subjects. And this presentation will be done by Dr. Irina Basova, who also works at Moscow State University and is the vice head of the Russian State Exam Commission, which develops the Russian state exam and monitors it. And I will also tell you closer to the end about how you can get the certificates and about some other things that you can get from SkyS and that you can use in your everyday work. So I'm happy to present to you Dr. Tomai Alexiou, and the floor is yours.
Give me 1 minute. Yes. Okay. So hello, everyone. Thank you very much for attending this talk and this conference in general. I'm Tomai Alexiou, and I work as an associate professor in the School of English at Aristotle University. Today we're going to talk about the learning materials that we've created with Skyes. And before I start with my presentation, I would like to express my thanks to Skyes and Skyeng in general company for hosting me here, for asking me to say some things about our books that we created with a lot of love, I would say, first of all. And I have to say that I'm very, very lucky and privileged to be working with these people, these inspired people. It's a group that really has surprised me in many ways, not only because of their professionalism, but also because of their systematic approach to teaching, learning, and the pedagogical principles that evolve around everything they do. So I'm really, really happy that I'm working with them. And today I'm going to show you some of our products, let's say, from the book, and how these contribute to the development of soft skills, which are the skills of the 21st century. So I'm talking about both books because we've done one for A2 and one for B level, but mainly most of the data I'm presenting or the samples that I'm going to show you come from Skylike A2. It's the same, however, completely the same actually, philosophy that runs through both books. So Skylike books present a paradigm shift in the development of 21st century skills through EFL material for university students. As you know, these course books, and I hope that you are using them because I would love to hear and receive your feedback on this, have been designed and developed by Sky and Company and are aimed at students, either in the Russian state universities or the Commonwealth of Independent States. The books are actually in line with a socio-pedagogical approach, which means that we are emphasizing on socio-constructivism, but also taking into consideration other pedagogical skills that we need to develop for the students. And we're trying to promote learners' expressive and communicative language skills so as to raise creativity, boost cooperation in language learning, enhance their critical skills, and also foster respect towards humanity in general and global sensitivity. I will show you some samples of how these skills are implicitly developed in our books, and that makes them useful, timely, and appropriate resources for teaching EFL to university students in the 21st century citizens, which this is what they're going to be tomorrow. Mainly, we are based on the lexical approach in our developing this material. So these are the very first books that include a fully developed lexical syllabus taken from frequency word lists by huge publishers, but also institutions such as Oxford, Cambridge, and other word lists such as EVP, and we put those into practice in a textbook. Core vocabulary guides the whole content, and we also have thematic areas that provide context for our learners, because it's really hard to remember just a series of words or a list of words by heart without contextualizing them. However, when we contextualize them, it is much easier to recall from memory. And all these, as I said, are thematically integrated and follow a certain lexical syllabus that we develop. And in this is highly innovative. Other innovations in this book, both books actually, is that they are research-driven and informed. So everything that we are doing is actually very consciously chosen because we have informed ourselves by research data and research studies on what makes a learning material effective. It is also based on a story-based framework, which is hardly ever the case when we're talking about students. And this is because we emphasize on actual communication. It also includes dyslexia-friendly texts and tasks, which is again an innovation in these books, and evolves around multiple intelligences and developing of strategies. The developing of strategies is actually explicitly guided in our books, and in the teachers' books, you can actually see them much more, in a more concrete form. We also have something that we don't really see in books, but I think it's about time we emphasize on this, which is the explicit teaching of mediation skills according to the new CFR in 2018. This is the companion of the Common European Framework for Languages, and mediation is an important skill that we need to develop. And of course, it develops, as I said, soft skills. Now, these are usually the texts of how they look like, either shorter or longer. But since we know that there is a threshold, 2,000 most frequent words that we need in order to understand some texts, but also start an independent communication, we also know that we need about 5,000 words in order to be able to have a much more complete comprehension of a written text. In this text, as you can see, we have certain features such as underlining or highlighting certain words. So you will see, for example, that lexical chunks are in a way differentiated in a way that they are being provided in the text, and you can see them clearly. So, for example, this line there is just plain words. Then we have lexical chunks that are highlighted, and set phrases that we actually learn by heart in everyday communication because we use them often, are with these dots that you can see there. This is a very nice visual mnemonic that we provide so that some words will stay, some expressions actually in lexical chunks will stay in memory, and probably they will be able to recall it because of this mnemonic device. Now, I'm just taking some data from the A2 book, but it doesn't mean that the next book is anything less than that. Actually, it is more because it's on a higher level. But generally, this is the profile for the first book. You can see the corpus words it is 14,000 almost and something more, which is actually quite impressive when you compare it with any other books. You can see plain language words, lexical chunks, and phrases. The total number of words, actual individual words, come up to 5,145, which is really, really satisfactory. Imagine that in a first year textbook for younger learners, the actual words that they learn is about 500 to 600. So you can imagine how much more this is multiplied here, because we have older students who have metacognitive skills and metalexical awareness. So we can definitely introduce more words. Half of these words will be learned contextualized. And this means that the fluency level will increase dramatically after the first unit. And then when we compared all these words with BNC, which is the British National Corpus, HINMAS, Oxford's A1 and A2 list, it was found that actually a very good, considerable amount of these frequent words are introduced in this book. And these belong to the first 2,000 most frequent words and phrases. This is the threshold I was telling you about that we needed in order to begin some kind of communication. And we actually have a coverage of 70% or more. And also, most of our vocabulary items overlap with the English vocabulary profile. It's about half of it, so 47%. Here I'm going to show you actual excerpts of tasks that aim at developing soft skills. And we start with the 4 C's, and first, collaboration. So you can see group work. A lot of group work is introduced in every single unit. And this is because if you can't actually put them in groups, how are you going to cultivate collaboration skills? So they have to be either in groups, sometimes in pairs, but mainly in groups of 3 to 5 people, and do something about it, do something communicative about it. So either there is a role play, a discussion, a debate, or interviewing people and then presenting something. If you can see at the very end, they have to do a presentation, in this case about their study group plans, and then vote for the best study plan. So it's not only that they are collaborating through group work, they are also presenting, so aiming at developing presentation skills as well, which means fluency. And also they come up with something communicative at the end when they actually vote for the best study plan, which is a real life skill that students need, and they can see this connection to their own reality. There's another one, again, on group work out a project of organizing a championship at your university. All of these things are not taken out of context. They're all taken from the actual interests and needs of the students, some things that they can take out of the classroom and work with them. So in this conference, they told me that you work with some kind of sayings, for example. So I worked with communication. If someone tells you you can't communicate, then say okay, and then tell him to look and learn how this is done. And so we are now showing you how we can create communication needs, but also skills. So here we have mediation skills, developing of mediation skills. And what is mediation? Mediation is, I'm Greek. You, most of you, I guess, are from Russia. How can we take a text, if I have a text in Greek, and through mediation, give you the gist of it so that you know how to work with it. So here, in this particular example, you and your English-speaking friend are going to bake a traditional Russian dessert. I think that's a topic that everybody would love. And yet you haven't got all the needed ingredients. Write down what you need and mention the quantities. And this recipe, this actual recipe with the ingredients, is in Russian, because if I would ask a Russian person how to do this, they would need to transfer this kind of knowledge to me. And this will be mediation. Then on another thing, we have different kind of debates, and debates actually serve many purposes: collaboration, communication, critical thinking skills, even creativity. Debates actually encompass all these aspects. And you can see, for example, here, the particular topic is communicating with strangers on social media, yes or no. So once again, it's not just a completely indifferent, or let's say a completely strange or strange subject for them. It's something that they work on, because you know how active they are with social media. So this is something that will really appeal to them and will provide the need and the context, but also the purpose of working through such a task, which is, first of all, communicative. Moving on with creativity, you can see here we ask them to make, for example, Instagram stories, or choose a goal and try and make it SMART, the way we understand SMART as a specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based. These are all taken again from areas, thematic areas and subjects that all students will probably be interested in. And if you're interested in something, then you're motivated in working with that. And that will make all the difference in the world, because really, especially at this particular age groups, students, I mean, if you manage to instill motivation, you will have success. And of course, last but not least, critical thinking. And here we have, for example, read the tourists' thought about after the World Cup in 2018 and discuss what stereotypes they had about Russia and how these have changed. What other stereotypes do you think tourists had about Russia? This is a very interesting topic. I mean, even for me, because I don't live in Russia, but I've visited Moscow and St. Petersburg a couple of times. I'm really impressed with the differences in culture. So sometimes it's really difficult for someone living in Russian and being Russian to understand these stereotypes. But now we are giving them a chance to talk about them. And I think this is really what it means. We are developing soft skills such as critical thinking. And one other way of introducing critical thinking skills is to ask them to self-assess. And self-assessment, apart from part of an alternative approach to assessment, which is much more appropriate, let's say, for this target age group that we are talking about, gives them the input they need in order to be more critical about themselves, what they can do, what they are having difficulty in doing. Another idea here, debate for and against, holding the next World Cup in Russia. And you can see here, they have useful vocabulary. And what is important to me is that this useful vocabulary is not just plain isolated words that probably people will forget the minute they step out of the classroom. No, it's actually chunks, set phrases, idioms even, that will help them develop these skills in thinking, but also speaking in a critical way. And this is a skill that will be useful to them throughout their lives. And another here, because I think that I mention more examples for critical thinking, because I think these are the hardest one to actually understand what we mean by critical thinking. So here they scan QR codes with the tips for the team project and discuss question and answers regarding their team. And this is again coming back to the World Cup, the FIFA, which is the one that they had. And there are questions like, why is advertising important in such events? How can we make it effective? Why should a logo be bright and memorable? Are social networking sites the main media of advertising a sports event? How do you collaborate? How to understand what sports equipment you actually need? Can everyone be a volunteer? What is the best way of communicating with volunteers? And so many other aspects that will all have the same goal, really. Moreover, because we said that soft skills is about these forces, but later, nowadays, and recently, we have also digital literacy, career and life skills, problem solving, other aspects, as you can see here in this particular picture. Binkley et al. Actually thought that soft skills involve also digital literacy, and we have it in our books, career and life skills and decisions about them, problem solving, personal responsibility, so developing ethos and social sensitivity and conscience, and of course, civic knowledge. All these, in the examples that I just provided, are integrated implicitly, not always explicitly, but that's the bet here, not only to explicit it in certain things, but to implicitly try to develop things through the tasks. So we're talking about more than just EFL books, and this is the point that I'm making here, that these books are trying to expedite the process of learning, but at the same time, either implicitly or explicitly develop soft skills. There is also an explicit teacher training in strategies following Bloom's taxonomy, but also explicit development of mediation skills through tasks. And the students can see it because we say, let's mediate. So they have to understand the notion of mediation and try to cultivate it. And to me, but I'm happy to see that Sky has agreed with me and we took it on board, pedagogical aims at any age is really important. You know, pedagogical aims sometimes is more are more emphasized with younger learners, but I disagree, because younger learners, of course, it is really, really important because they're still developing holistically, and in all ways you can provide pedagogical aims, but it is also an important part. Pedagogical aims are important also later on in life. I will say that at certain aspects, it is even more important to do it later because they have the cognitive skills that are appropriate to develop all this. And so they are part of the book because the stories that we have promote empathy, values such as volunteering, being a good friend, appreciating and valuing your family. They also bring about awareness of environmental sustainability, climate action. These are all so important. I'm guessing you know that, you understand that. We live in a very, very difficult and challenging era, and all these become even more important today. And finally, my last point is how we actually, apart from the promoted skills that you can see there, we also have the equivalent promoting strategies in the books. And these are also very important. So we have memory skills, memory strategies, cognitive strategies, social strategies, and metacognitive strategies, because we can actually work with them all explicitly at this particular age group. So, spasiba, thank you for your attention, and I'm here if you have questions.
Thank you so much. Dear friends and colleagues, I'd like to remind you that you may ask your questions in the chat on YouTube. That's where you're watching us. And while you're probably doing so, let me read a few comments and let me list the countries that people have been listening to us from. So we have one of the first comments was from Malaysia. Good evening from Malaysia. We also have people from Romania. Mm-hmm. We also have people from Sakhalin. Sakhalin is the one of the easternmost regions of Russia, and it is late night in Sakhalin at the moment. It's nearly midnight. We are also joined by Dr. Natalia Akhenova, who is the Vice President of the Russian Association of Applied Linguistics and Literature. And I see Natalia in the comments. We have people from India. We have people from Zabaikalsky Krai in Russia, and they are 6 hours ahead of our time, so it's evening there as well. We have people from the Ukraine, from Odessa. We have people from Yerevan, which is the capital of Armenia. We have the Moscow State Linguistic University present here, which is one of the very top universities in Russia and one of the best linguistic universities in the world. We also have people from Kaliningrad, which is the westernmost region of Russia. Alexandra Sobleva asks this question: could you please clarify the criteria you use to differentiate between lexical chunks and phrases?
Yes, of course. Thank you for this question. Lexical chunks are usually words that go together, that they are combined. So set phrases, or phrases, as I said, are the phrases that we use, let's say, on their own. So, by the way, for example, or, I mean, if you're talking about the actual criteria, the way we introduce them, we thought of which are lexical chunks and which are set phrases or idioms, and we differentiated between the two. Thinking lexical chunks are the words that go together, so they have a company, as we say, that go together. Set phrases are the fixed phrases. And we also had native speakers actually confirming that this is a phrase or this is a lexical chunk.
Okay, thank you so much. We also have viewers from Italy. We also are joined by Dr. Ron Marine from Germany. And Ron is very well known, not only to the viewers in Russia, but also worldwide. We also have people from Kazakhstan. And the thing is that I'd like to thank Dr. Thoma Alexeyev for being able to make it for the conference, because her schedule is very, very busy, and we really had to find the time. So we will have to let Dr. Thoma go, but you may still ask most questions in the chat, because we'll be able to email the questions to Dr. Thoma. So thank you so much. And as people are writing in the chat, the presentation was great and they really enjoyed it. Thank you so much. And our next speaker is Najla Bahri from Tunisia. Najla is going to tell about the 21st century skills for the teacher. Najla Bahri works at the University of Manouba in Tunisia, and she teaches English, literature, and a number of subjects which are closely related to it. So, Najla, you're welcome.
Thank you, Alex, for introducing me. Should I share my screen? Is it shared now, Alex?
Yes, we can see it.
Great, okay. Thank you. I'd like to start by thanking the Disguise team for the opportunity, especially you, Alex and Kirill. Today's presentation will be more in the form of an exchange among teachers. The title is The 21st Century Teacher. You may be asking why there is this need to speak about ourselves. In fact, I think that we speak a lot about our expectations from our learners, and we speak about a variety of skills they need, but what about us? In order to get, I think, the best of our students, we need to get the best of ourselves so that we make sure we are not 20th century teachers, because that's what we are, 20th century teachers with 19th century tools teaching 21st century students. So the point here is to discuss these and identify these key skills needed by the teacher of the era, be able to acknowledge the need for them and their relevance, and finally work out together a definition of our new roles. I've selected a few skills. As the professor earlier mentioned, there are numerous skills, but I'd like just to focus on a few ones. I'll be speaking about global citizenship, emotional intelligence, among others. And I'll start with digital literacy. You may say that digital literacy has been overrated as a skill recently, but I don't think so. I won't stop much on the definition because you'll find a lot of definitions of the skill, but I want to emphasize the fact that digital literacy is not only IT expertise. There is a set of knowledge, skills, and attitudes needed in order to develop that skill. I'd like first to stop on the picture for a few moments. I think you all recognize that picture. It was during the first lockdown, and when we saw it, and during that period, we were all called to switch online and transform all our classes. And when this picture emerged, and we said, wow, this is digital literacy, this is online teaching. Well, it turns out that it's not as common as we thought, and that even this picture, by the way, is in Harvard, and even by Harvard norms, it's not common to work in such an environment and such a context. They have, I think, one room equipped in this way, and they need to book it ahead. And so the takeaways from the lockdown and from the pandemic is that online teaching is here to stay, and we need to adapt to that and adapt all our methods for that. So all available means should be used to keep continuity of learning, and that's what we did. And it turned out that all means were used. We were even sending work by email. Some teachers used Messenger. So it is here to stay, and we need to see that as an opportunity, not a threat. I'd like here to take the example of Sky's platform, because I've been using the Sky's platform recently for the last 2 months. And as a return back now to the normal, if we can say that, Sky's platform has proved to be a great opportunity, as it allowed me to transform the learning experience into a blended one. Next to providing access to online learning for my students, I am also seeing them on a face-to-face basis, and it's offering us the opportunity to discuss this in class, plan ahead. So it's really perfect for a blended mode. I'd like to move now to critical thinking. I'm not going to define the term, as the term has been defined differently depending on the context, but I would like to mention a quote by John Dewey, who says that we don't learn from experience, but we rather learn from reflecting on experience. And in my understanding, I think this is crucial for critical thinking for teachers. It is the basis for a teacher to develop his mindset and adopt critical thinking. I think a teacher should teach for relevance. If he wants to adopt a critical thinking mindset, he needs to keep on asking questions like, who do I teach? What do I teach them? And why I teach them? And modify things accordingly and practice self-assessment. Assess one's content, one's methods, and especially ask for feedback. Finally, to adopt this critical thinking mindset, I think it is very important for the teacher to embrace a growth mindset and be a lifelong learner. A quote here by Alvin Toffler says, the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. And I think this is of primary importance for the teacher nowadays. In order to get closer to his learners, he needs to keep on learning and especially unlearn what is obsolete, what is not, does not correspond anymore to the needs of our students nowadays, and relearn in order to meet more their needs. A teacher of the 21st century should also be learner-centered. It's not really about what teachers cover. It's more about what learners discover. We are always preoccupied by finishing the curriculum. We have a program to cover, but it's not really about that, covering that. It's more about what are we helping learners discover. And I think learner-centered approach or learner-centered mindset turns around being inclusive and being empowering. In order to be inclusive, we need to promote equal opportunities in terms of gender or social regional differences. For example, there are differences that are underrated sometimes. We have learned the importance of giving equal opportunities to males and females, but it's also important to be inclusive. For example, in Tunisia here, there is a big discrepancy between people who are in Tunis, the capital, and people who come from other regions. It's very important to be inclusive of them. It's also important to accommodate for different learning styles and different intelligences. A learner also, a teacher, sorry, needs to be empowering. He needs to motivate his learners, encourage their self-confidence. He needs to praise the process and the effort and not only the result. He needs to normalize failure and encourage resilience, because as Einstein says, failure is success in progress. And finally, trigger a growth mindset and aim for autonomous learning or autonomy. Another skill, vital one for both a learner and teacher, but here from the perspective of the teacher, is emotional intelligence. And I understand that emotional intelligence has been defined in various terms. I'm here using a very, not very common definition. It's by Chris Voss. Emotional intelligence is the ability to regulate your own emotions and appraise, assess, and label the emotions of others. So in a nutshell, it turns around self-awareness, active listening, and empathy. In order to reach self-awareness, there is a need to practice metacognition, ask a lot for feedback, and self-regulate accordingly. Active listening is also very important to be emotionally intelligent, as it helps establish a respectful environment where students feel safe to talk. It is also important to listen for understanding and not listen to answer back. And another aspect that I would like to speak about is the practice of silence. Some teachers consider silence as an awkward moment. It should not. Silence we should give enough time for silence in order for the students to feel confident enough to take their time and practice speaking, but also think about what they want to say, relate emotionally, to interact emotionally to the discussion. So I think silence is important, very important in active listening. And the last part of emotional intelligence is empathy. It's very important to relate to their concerns and establish rapport in order to build trust. Based on that trust, we can really influence their behavior in a positive way. It's not manipulative in any way, but in order to for change to happen, there is a need to influence their behavior towards more autonomy, more critical thinking. So empathy is important to develop that. And finally, global citizenship. Of course, we can speak for hours about global citizenship. I would like to define it as starting from the local in order to reach the global. And to do that, we need to teach our students for relevance, as we said, for life. We teach them also for the future. They will not live in our era, they will live in their era, and we need to prepare them for that. We need to teach them for the world. And again, I'd like here to refer to SKIES as a great model of global citizenship, as the courses allow for the development of universal soft skills, are very varied and allow for a lot of styles and a lot of intelligences. It's also been an opportunity for me to practice, to train my students towards autonomy, and it is also a good model of learner-centeredness. For example, what I do is that I post materials for my students every other week, and I allow them time to go and discover, explore the extra courses, and they decide on the coming homework that I will be assigning to them. So it will be their choice, based on their choice, based also on teamwork. So it is the opportunity to develop that interaction, that taking initiative, practicing autonomy in order to reach self-learning. So as we have discovered all these skills and developing all these skills and exploring all these alternatives to education, make us that we are not we realize that we are not only teachers anymore. Using these platforms, realize that teaching can take place without us. So there is a need, I think, to renegotiate our roles and wear different hats in order to better accomplish our roles in this era. And our roles are varied. We are, I think, educators as we inculcate values. We are facilitators as we accompany our students through the learning process towards autonomy. We are mentors. We help set goals and explore options. We are coaches. We improve collective performance and get the best out of the team. And finally, we are leaders. We inspire. And I think a teacher, being a teacher, is an ongoing process, and we need to adapt and keep on learning in order to play these various roles effectively. Thank you for your attention. And if you have any questions, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Najla. I'd like to read out just a few comments we got in the chat. So we're joined by viewers from Indonesia as well. So the number of countries is growing, and people have been saying, commenting on your presentation, saying that it's great going. And Kirill has written in the chat, I love the quote, learn, unlearn, and relearn. And Dr. Ron Moraine says that unlearning is the most difficult skill a teacher will ever experience during their career. And it is very true that you always should start locally and only then move to globally, because a learner must be able to talk about their world first. These were the comments. People are saying thank you, and I'd like to thank our speaker from Tunisia. And we are now moving from the Mediterranean region, because we've had a wonderful presentation from Greece by Dr. Tomai Alexiou. We've had a brilliant presentation from Tunisia, and now we're going to Moscow, where it started snowing this morning, and the weather is so very different. The next presentation, the next speaker is Doctor of Education Svetlana Titova, the Vice Dean of the Faculty of Foreign Languages and Area Studies of Moscow State University. And the topic of the presentation is Developing Speaking and Critical Thinking Skills of Students with the help of visual didactic online materials.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Alexey Vasilyevich, unfortunately, I cannot share my screen. Will you ask the previous speaker? Yes,
just
sharing
a
the
second.
screen. Otherwise, I won't be able to show the my presentation.
Oh, sure. Najla, could we ask you to stop sharing your screen, please?
Okay, sorry for that.
It's okay.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much.
Just a second. I need to find it.
Okay. Meanwhile, I can see our chat. I mean, I can see all the questions you are asking. So that's why from time to time, I will ask you some questions, and you can. I can see them all. So that's why. Yeah. Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk with you about. So my workshop, it will be more practically oriented. I mean, I'm going to, well, there will be a little bit of practice, of course, a little bit of theory, sorry, and then just a lot of practice. I decided to call this particular workshop Teaching, Speaking, and Critical Thinking Skills in a Low-Tech Online Environment. You know that digital tools and apps, they're very frequently used to help our students improve their grammar and vocabulary, as we all know. But tools to help students develop their fluency, speech fluency, and critical thinking skills can be harder to find. But today I try, and my workshop aims to consider the peculiarities of the development of our students' critical and communication skills in a digital educational environment. A few words about myself, but Alexey Vasilyevich has already presented me. Thank you very much. I work at the Department of Foreign Languages and Area Studies, Moscow State University. And my scientific interests connected with digital skills of foreign language teachers and learners. So this is very brief session outline. In other words, what we're going to discuss with you today. If you have any questions, meanwhile, again, I can see all the questions and I can answer them. A little bit of theory, as I have already said. Then we'll try to concentrate on some strategies, how to do that. Because very frequently we know what is meant by critical thinking skills. They're usually productive because we ask our students either to talk or to write something, but how to develop. So what are the key strategies? Then how to design some activities and what activities might be used to help teachers develop these skills. Specifically for this particular workshop, I set up our virtual environment on Padlet, devoted to critical thinking skills, by the way. So this is the URL, very simple so you might have a look, or the second option, I might show you the QR code of our Padlet. Because I published here all the links, all the questions. You don't need to copy anything. You might go there. You might answer the questions, discuss, share your experience. I hope that you do know that Padlet is very simple, but very handy environment for teachers and for students to discuss, to share, to participate. So this is the URL of our Padlet. So just feel free to use and to participate either during the session or after the session, does matter. And I hope that you will be active. As the previous speakers have already said that developing critical thinking skills is of utmost importance today for not only language teachers, but also for all teachers of all disciplines. So you can see here the documents and frameworks which help teachers to build and sustain cultures of thinking in all learning contexts, incorporate strategies for deep learning and thinking across all ages, grade levels, disciplines, and cultural contexts. These documents, as I have already said, help FL teachers to create a theoretical framework for boosting critical thinking skills as well as oracy skills. And by the way, we use this term critical thinking skills, although if you look attentively at all these documents and frameworks, you can see that they are used differently in different frameworks. For example, Partnership for 21st Century, soft skills, Cambridge Framework of Life Competences, life skills, New Companion, CFR, published in 2018, mediation strategies, Oracy Framework of Cambridge University Press. They are called Oracy skills, by the way. So many terms. What is meant by critical thinking skills? To my mind, this document, which you can see here, created by Cambridge University Press, it's called Life Competences. If you look attentively, so you can see that according to Cambridge University Press, life competences include not only creative thinking, critical thinking, communication, and collaboration, but also learning to learn, skills, and social responsibilities. Yeah, 2 more groups of skills were added by Cambridge University Press. Bloom's taxonomy. I hope that you know Bloom's taxonomy very well, and so you use it from time to time. But Bloom's taxonomy helps teachers create and work out their own environment of curiosity and critical thinking. It helps teachers really to create that scaffolding that is necessary for all students and learners, because it's not possible to develop and boost critical thinking all of a sudden. So we need some stages, some steps, and Bloom's taxonomy is very helpful in this respect. As I have already said, a new companion, CFR, published in 2018. So you can see that mediation, according to this new version, according to this new companion, is considered to be the utmost degree of development of critical thinking, mediation strategies. And according to this particular document, I hope that you are familiar with it, foreign language teacher has to be able to do everything. He has to be a great mediator, efficient mediator. So one more document, oracy skills. What is meant by that? I hope that you've heard this particular term. At least you come across in some articles, in documents. So this is the definition, what is meant by oracy. So the term itself was coined in the second half of the 20th century by Andrew Wilkinson. And according to his viewpoint, oracy is a kind of wide range of speaking and listening skills, plus behavior, plus social skills, because we have to educate students and to turn them into effective communicators. They have to be effective and efficient communicators. And this idea was based, Andrew Wilkinson's idea was based on Vygotsky's theory, which was proposed when he discussed the peculiarities of children's language learning, who said that the children's language learning is linked to their cognitive development, without any doubts. In other words, a language shapes our individual and collective thinking. And this particular idea, it's the basic idea, which is used as a framework in Cambridge University Oracy framework of 2018. So this is these are the groups of skills that are included into oracy skills. If we look at the first two, for example, Russian teachers, they just usually I ask them, do they remind you anything, these skills? Yes. Of course, the so-called language skills, lexical skills, vocabulary, grammar, and phonetic skills. That's what was called physical and linguistic skills. Plus, in order to communicate efficiently, so we need to develop cognitive skills. Just look how they are described in that document, and social and emotional skills. Yeah. So the previous speaker was talking about the necessity of developing these skills. So the first question for you, so we have our environment on Padlet, So again, you can answer this question either after the session, the workshop, or during, doesn't matter. How can we encourage our students to extend thinking and dig deeper? Dig deeper. So this is a very important question for all teachers. So how can teaching and learning extend beyond the passive transmission of knowledge from teachers to students to engage learners in or outside the classroom? This is a kind of a key question. How can we shift the balance in our classroom to include a focus on cognitive thinking skills, as well as conveying knowledge, culture, and values, because we teach foreign languages. So I like this quotation by Professor Richard Rithard, who said that prompting a deep thinking classroom culture is a result of teachers posing the right questions. So QR code, okay. I'll try. Yes, I will show you QR code one more time because people are, yes. So you can scan the QR code again. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Okay. Dear colleagues, did you scan it? Did you scan it? Yeah, and some people are answering that motivation is of key importance. Yeah, of course, motivation is of key importance. Without motivation, we cannot teach, and our students won't be able to learn anything. So, some strategies for you. Strategy number one. Developing, when we talk about developing critical thinking, strategy number one, we have to teach our students how to formulate high order questions. So I have already just mentioned this quotation, because prompting a deep thinking classroom culture, we can do that only through posing the right questions, we as teachers. But on the other hand, we have to teach our students to formulate high order questions as well. So why do we usually ask high order questions? For different reasons, yeah. To promote ongoing inquiry, to support our students in constructing understanding, to help our students clarify their own thinking, to first of all to themselves, yeah, and then others. It's also important. So, for example, one of the recipe, I hope that you will answer the question. Misprint on the slide, yeah, okay. To ask why questions. So why questions, they are very important. Why do you think this is the correct alternative or answer? Why is it your favorite actor, book, task, or whatever? Why is it a good idea to read the text quickly? Why? But when we formulate and when we try to teach how to formulate high order questions, especially if we use different kind of visual prompts, such as pictures, diagrams, tables, video, presentations, etc., we have to discriminate between the so-called descriptive questions. For example, describe a picture. Analytical questions or high order questions. So this is an example how to analyze, for example, a picture, yeah, visual prompt. which is very frequently different kinds of prompts. They are very frequently used in learning, teaching, because they are usually create motivation. They boost motivation. How typical is this situation? What makes you say that? Can you say more about that? If you look attentively, so you can see that here we cannot see any white questions, yeah? But the first step is to just learn and to teach them how to ask why questions, or creative thinking. So your vision of a picture. So you can go on and discuss this or that picture. For example, look at these pictures and ask some high order questions. You can pick up any picture you like, and try to ask one high order question. That would be great. Yeah.
Okay, dear colleagues, sorry about this pause. Before the presentation, Svetlana wrote to me telling that there was a power shortage in her house, so she started a generator, and the computer battery had some. Okay, so Svetlana is reconnected now. I was explaining that there was a power shortage, and that's why we got disconnected.
I'm back. I'm awfully sorry, but the thing is that we have some problems with just electricity, and now it's okay. Can you see my presentation? Can you see my presentation? Tell me, please.
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm sorry. I guess that will stop here. Yeah. Okay. So what about some resources that we can use, especially based on visual prompts, on pictures? So I recommend you to use, for example, once upon the picture, the thinking collection, based totally on developing critical and oracy skills of our teachers might be used. Ready-made questions, pictures, very motivating, interesting. Then some pictures absolutely free on unsplash.com, the pictures which I just demonstrated, and ask you to make up your own one question to develop critical thinking skills of your students. You can pick up any picture you like. They were taken from Unsplash, free open source, or commonly.org, library of themes and topics and texts and questions. Which can be used for developing, for boosting critical thinking as well. A lot of topics designed specifically for school children. This is an example of an activity which is very frequently used, by the way. It's called 3 words, 3 questions, 1 simile, used by the authors of many textbooks. A teacher presents a problem and asks students to say 3 words that come to their mind when they think about something, or 2 questions they have about the problem, 1 simile or 1 metaphor to describe a problem. After that, a teacher might demonstrate, for example, short video or picture or audio file or whatever, and ask the following questions. Has this video made you change any of the words or questions or similar you presented? Why? Why not? This is very simple at first sight activity, but it's very helpful. Strategy number 2, we have to teach our students to formulate their own opinions, their viewpoints. In this respect, the so-called Socratic method is very helpful. These 5 steps and set of questions applicable to any material you would like to teach: text, video, picture, again, audio file. First of all, the first step is called clarifying. You have to give an example, and you have to explain further, or what is the problem you are trying to solve. You have to describe. Then challenging assumption. Is that always the case? How can you verify that? Then examining evidence. Why do you say they? How do you know? Then considering perspectives. So what are there any alternatives? Argument, counter argument, and considering consequences. How does it affect, for example, your viewpoint, your position? What if you are wrong, etc. So these questions might be applied, as I have already said, to any material you're going to teach to develop critical thinking skills. Changing your opinion, not only to express your opinion, but also they have to be our students, sorry, they have to analyze the information you offer, and then on the basis of this particular information, they have to change, to transform their opinion. So this is the activity, which is called Connection, Challenges, Concepts, and Changes. Also very simple at first sight, but very effective. It works perfectly. Connection, make connection between your life and the topic discussed. What is interesting to our students, it's important. Challenges, choose the ideas from the text that you want to challenge and argue. Concepts, choose concepts you think are important to remember. And then changes, consider changes you can make based on what you've learned from any source we've just discussed with you. So the next strategy, strategy number 3, how to develop critical thinking skills. First of all, we have to develop their reflective skills. Yeah, the previous speaker was talking about that. So while learning and teaching, we don't have to forget about reflection. So reflective questions, they are of utmost importance. What are they? Why does this topic matter to me? I have mentioned this question already. Why might this topic matter to people around me? For example, members of my family, relatives, friends. Why might this topic matter to the world? And one more question for you. What activities do you usually use to develop orthodoxy and critical things of your teachers? What do you do? Share your ideas. I hope that you all experienced teachers and you can share what do you usually do in your classroom. You can share either in our chat box or here on the platform on Padlet. But these are some activities which might be used. Visuals, as you can see, used as prompts. Visuals, they are very helpful because visuals, as I have already said, different kinds of visuals, contrast and compare to pictures, to maps, to whatever. Perform a monologue, dialogue from the point of view of one of the person in the picture, not just on the basis of the text, but pictures, usually they are more motivating. Do you agree or disagree with using a table, diagram, infographic, just any visual material? Prove your point of view using the mind map or table, give your argument to support the ideas depicted. Present a solution to the problem using a table or a mind map. Make up your own visual story, not just in the written form or, for example, just orally, but visual story. It's also very helpful. And then you might ask them to say and to explain what was depicted, for example. So this is the hierarchy of problem-based activities according to Bloom's taxonomy. So as you can see, a lot of different kinds of tasks are used, from vocabulary and grammar games to project. You know that there is the so-called project-based technology, which is used in language learning and teaching. Cases, quests, brainstorming, role plays, discussions and debates, different kinds of things. So these are some ideas for discussion activities. I guess that all of you just use discussion activities in your classroom, but as you can see, they might be of different genres. I mean, discussion activities, stoplight discussion, snowball discussion, fishbowl, panel discussion, circle time. So they are all interactive. They are all motivating. So a lot of based on group work or pair work. Of course, these kinds of activities used to develop both oracy skills and critical thinking skills. So one more format of tasks and activities based on brainstorming, how to brainstorm. So you might use different approaches, how to brainstorm. So this is the activity which was introduced by Dave Spencer. I like it very much, by the way. Again, it's very simple at first sight, but it works perfectly with any material. Here it was said, read the text, but you might use video or audio file or picture, look at the picture. But if we work with the text, it will be better because we learn them to find a topic sentence in a paragraph. So then choose a phrase that interested you, choose a word from the text that you think was central, share your sentence, phrase, word, and explain why you have chosen these words, these phrases, these sentences. So this is a very analytical activity which helps you to develop critical reading. What is important to develop? It's important also to just somehow involve our students into reading. Brainstorming, again, the idea which was given by Dave Spencer, words, questions, and metaphor. A teacher presents a problem, any problem, then 3 words that come to their mind. I have already demonstrated it. 3 questions that you have, one similar, etc. So these are the activity, brainstorming activity can be set up on any online instrument. Very handy one, the instrument that we are using with you now, it's Padlet. Brainstorming activity on Padlet, so you can use it for sharing, discussion, or you might use it as a preparation for future debates, for future case study. Very interesting instrument. Brainstorming activity might be done on different kind of geolocation apps, such as, for example, Google Maps. So this is again an activity that I use with my students. 25 best places to retire in the United States. So they are supposed to look through the links, work in groups, create their own map on Padlet. Again, Padlet, because Padlet, it has an option maps. You have to write a text explaining why this particular place or city attracted the elderly, and publish it in commentaries. So it's just the task, the activity, which I ask my students of Department of Foreign Relations and Area Studies to do. Second year students. I published on our Padlet ebook on Canva, how to develop cognitive skills and brainstorm. If you click here, we don't have enough time, but if you click here, there will be the steps based on Bloom's taxonomy, how to brainstorm. So you can use them and you can apply them to any material you would like. They are kind of universal. Common might be used for any material. Infographic. Again, this is an example of an activity that I use with my students, how to become president of the United States. We use two instruments, Pinterest plus Padlet. So this is group work, interactive. They not only look through the infographic, they have to analyze it, not just to describe, but they have to analyze and they have to answer some questions that are given beforehand. By the way, there are some why questions. If you look attentively, just look, why is the step called so? Why do they play an important role in the voting process? But at the same time, there might be such question as which steps shows when the presidential and VP nominees are selected, vice president nominees are selected. So kind of search-based tasks. So this is very, I would say, this kind of material, infographic, which might be found on Pinterest, is of great help for all teachers. Compare and contrast national stereotypes on Padlet, the topic which was discussed by my students. It's a kind of preparation. It was preparation for the debates devoted to national stereotypes. Compare and contrast, one more task, which I usually ask my students to do. Again, students of regional studies and foreign relations, compare and contrast the immigration policy of Donald Trump and Barack Obama administration. It was last year. Task. So it's also a group task, interactive. They have links. They have to read the text. They have to analyze. They have contrast and compare, answer the questions. They have to do research using different kinds of material, video, text, infographic, different kind of data, and then they have to present the result of their research orally in class. That's what they are doing. Mental maps. I love mental maps because mental maps, they help not only analyze, classify, they help, they visualize, they present structure, they demonstrate just practically everything. And I ask my students to work using this particular online instrument. They create their own maps, mental maps. For example, here they have a concrete task to visualize, not just to describe, but to visualize, to analyze the powers, functions, and duties of one of the three branches of the US government or a state government, and then demonstrate, explain, show that and this particular map really demonstrates that they analyze the material. That's very important. Not just do PP presentation, but it helped them analyze the material. Online tools to develop critical thinking skills. There are a lot of them. I mentioned some of them already. Online boards such as Padlet, Miro, Jamboard, Timeliners, different kind of geolocated apps such as Google Maps, Google Planet, multimedia, presentations, mind maps, Canva Tilder, different kinds of, they are more advanced instruments probably. So these are the didactic potential of these tools, which might be used by all teachers. If we talk about instructional visuals for your course, it might be distant online course, or it might be traditional in-person course, doesn't matter. So you can create, with the help of all these instruments, different kinds of learning materials, ebooks, multimedia presentation, mind maps, video tests. So these are the activities based on different kinds of visual prompts, as I have already said. And what is important for all language teachers, when you use open educational resources, it's absolutely necessary to know how to design these activities. Because if you decide to create your own activity, you have to be able that you can cope with all the steps of designing. Yeah. So first and foremost, you have to formulate the aim, what kind of skills you are going to develop. Receptive skills, productive skills, just language skills. You should choose the format of an activity. Here I mentioned just interactive activities to develop critical thinking skills. Choose and create, or create your own visuals. You know, the teachers nowadays, they can use pictures, and they can use their own video, etc. But they don't have. You don't have to forget about CFR language level. Formulate the task for your students. You don't have to forget about scaffolding, about prompts, about critical questions or high order questions. Then you have to be able to formulate assessment criteria plus reflection questions, especially when we talk about discussions and case study and projects and quests. And then publish your activity to use online. All the instruments which I've just demonstrated, they might be used very frequent. They are used very frequently. They are very simple. They are handy, as I have already said. Many teachers can use them without any problems, without any technical just difficulties. So to conclude, I would like to ask you to reflect on what we have discussed with you. So these are the questions I would like you to answer on our Padlet. This is these reflective questions might be used by you with your students as well. So, what new ideas, theories, activities have you learned today? Named 3. What are you planning to use in your practice? Was it useful? And what else would you like to know about overseas skills development as well as critical skills development? If you have any questions, I'm ready to answer all your questions. We have our virtual environment, so you might ask your questions there, and I'm ready to answer them. I have LearnTeach Web community for not only English language teachers, but for foreign language teachers. So you can join our community. We have our group opened and closed on Facebook, Instagram. We have our own YouTube channel. And these are the references. I published the links which I used here on our Padlet for those teachers who would like to dig deeper. Thank you very much. Thank you for your attention. And if you have any questions, yes, all the some Teachers ask me to publish the links in the chat, but as I have already said, all the links, they are published on our Padlet. One more time, I'm going to show you URL of the Padlet. And this is the QR code. You can copy it, and you just will have a link to go to our Padlet. Thank you very much. Alexei, switch on your loudness.
Oh, sorry, my mic was off. Thank you so much, Svetlana Vladimirovna, not only for the very insightful and very practical presentation, as everybody has been writing in the chat, but also for overcoming all those problems and being able to still connect to the conference instead of the power shortage and the weather getting cold and everything.
Yeah, I'm awfully sorry, Alexei Vasilyevich, but you know that I was on the verge of,
Oh,
I
please
tried
don't
to
be.
do something because we have electricity cut off here, and I tried to switch on our generator, but it didn't work, and then I used the phone, and then the electricity was on, and everything was cut off again, and so, but we did it. Okay.
Yes, and I was just going to say that this is one of the 21st century skills. A teacher has to be invincible
to cope with all the
and
difficulties.
inventive.
Yes.
Exactly,
yes,
exactly.
Yes,
The more technology we use, the more technologically savvy we have to be, just in such cases.
Okay.
So thank you so much once again.
Thank you very much for your conference. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next speaker is Kirill Mirgorod, and Kirill is going to tell about developing students' individual learning paths with SCIAS resources. Kirill, you're welcome.
Okay, hello, can you hear me well? Can you see me well? I need the confirmation. I have the confirmation. All right, thank you very much, Alexei, for introduction. My name is Kirill. I'm the Chief Business Development Officer at SCIAS. And first of all, I want to express my gratitude for all the participants and speakers for shedding the light on such important topics as creating effective learning materials that contribute to the development of soft skills presented by Tomai, and developing speaking and critical thinking skills of students with the help of visual didactic online materials by Svetlana Titova, and 21st century skills in general that are needed by Najla. So thank you very much. And what I want to share with you today is my thoughts on developing students' individual learning paths with SCIAS resources. So let me share my screen. Okay, here we go. Yet again, developing students' individual learning paths. So first of all, what we need to know is what is an individual learning path after all. So an individual learning path is a personalized learning and development trajectory based on an individual strategy for achieving long-term personal goals. So why do we even need individual learning paths? For several reasons. Well, there are more than that, but still these are the major ones. So in the same group, students might have various levels of communicative competence in English. Students' goals do not always coincide with those of the program, but however, they need to achieve those goals after all. Some students lack general study skills. We don't know the background, and access to study materials may vary. We all know that there is a huge variety of learning and teaching materials on the market, and it might be confusing, and also the prices might be quite high. So what do we do with that? Also, we need to differentiate individual learning path and personalized learning. So what is personalized learning? In its purest form, that means that student is in charge of his progress, and he chooses the content on what to study. He chooses the place of learning, when and where, and student self-motivates and able to see what they need to reach in order to what he needs to do in order to reach their goals. So he is the decision maker after all. But individual learning paths are more teacher controlled. The teacher is the one who designs the paths with the student in mind, and teacher remains the decision maker. So there's a huge amount of questions that we need to answer while designing an individual learning path. To name a few, like what will be learned through the self-study, or how can this learning be provided to them without distracting the other students? Where will they get those additional resources from? It's just a lot. So let me share some ideas about how the SkyS platform answers these and other questions. So SkyS offers a large number of courses, including self-study courses and trainers. These courses were designed based on numerous interviews with universities so that the content of the courses adheres not only to education standards, but also to the university's requirements. The basis for learning is a core course. The learner has the information about what the course, its units, and lessons are for. This information is provided in the lessons and course descriptions. The learner may explore the lessons on their own and get familiar with the course. The formats of study are marked in the lessons and in the teacher's notes. So the teacher sees the progress of each student at several levels. First of all, the level of each exercise, you can see it on the left on the first picture. So how well the student or student has done it. At the level of each slide, you can see it on the right, at the course level, and most important, at the level of each skill. So how well a particular student is progressing in reading, listening, writing, and speaking. Each and every exercise and lesson makes the information more detailed and accurate. So we can break down those skills by grammar, listening, reading, and vocabulary. Besides, based on this data, the teacher may decide to assign additional training to the student. The teacher can assign exercises and lessons from every course on the platform to individual students and to groups of students. So it's quite flexible. You don't need to adhere to only one course. So students themselves can also take up additional supplementary exercises and courses to self-study according to their needs and interests. For example, students are doing the English for Management course in accordance with the university study plan, but they're also interested in finding internships abroad or in international companies. Therefore, they can be assigned or choose themselves to do a short course, choose their own business adventure, or how to get an internship. And they will be able to, by the end of the course, they'll be able to know and do everything what is needed to get one. Example number 2 is the progress monitoring system shows that a student needs additional grammar practice. The teacher assigns the Lego grammar, like A2 course, to the student for self-study, and the results of all additional work will be counted by the progress monitor system, and they will be available for the teacher and can be counted towards the student grades. So both teachers and students have access to a variety of courses and additional materials on SkyS platform at any given time. And students' progress is closely monitored on several levels and shown both to the teacher and to the students. So it's quite transparent. And it makes it possible to see what students lack in their skills and how it can be supplemented. So the entire system allows to work in different formats, online, blended, offline, and it helps to save huge amount of teachers' time because you don't need to spend so much time on preparing the courses and going through each individual student's homework one by one, and increases the academic performance, helps to increase the academic performance of students. Right, as of this moment, we work with more than 250 higher educational institutions and more than 2,000 teachers use us, and more than 36,000 students use the platform at the same time, and we work and operate in several countries. So we would be more than happy to for you to join and to join our academic community. So please do not hesitate to contact us. And if we still have time before I say goodbye, let me share the video, a small video introduction that will take a minute only. I think, let me share computer sound. Here we go.
Welcome to SkyS Digital for Higher Ed. In this video, we'll tell you what SkyS Digital is and for what purposes you can use its services. SkyS Digital is an online platform for teaching English in higher institutions. Wherever you are, everything you need for teaching is already in your computer, your personal area, list of all groups and students, educational courses for teaching English for different levels and purposes, for internships, job interviews, IT, management, and much more. Library of video resources and interactive tasks. All tasks are done on the platform. All you need is just a laptop, a tablet, or a smartphone with internet connection. The platform checks the work of each student and of a group as a whole. All tasks are checked automatically and you can see results immediately. You can monitor students' progress in your personal area. Points for completed tasks. Mistakes made. Dynamics of language skills. Based on these data, you can develop an individual learning plan for each student. Use Sky's digital services and your students will definitely reach their goals. Sincerely yours, Sky's digital team.
Sincerely indeed. Okay, so that was it pretty much. Thank you very much for listening. Here are the contacts in case you want to collaborate. So do not hesitate to add me on WhatsApp or text me on email. Thank you very much. Yay,
Okay.
and the last slide for fun. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Alexei.
Thank you very much, Kirill. Indeed, to create an individual learning path is a very difficult task because personalized learning is something that requires a lot of effort and a lot of organization. But creating individual learning paths can still be even more difficult because you need to have the resources for it, and you need to be able to use those resources, and you need to have technological support. And that brings me to our next topic, and this is going to be my presentation. And I'd like to share a few of ideas on how we can teach students to learn with online AFL courses and materials. And although I am going to be using the Sky's resources as examples, but still we're going to be talking about the main principles, and we're going to start by exploring a little bit about why it is important to teach students to learn. The thing is that the the expression study skills is used very often, and it is used so often because there are a lot of study skills deficits in students. When we talk about study skills, we can also use some other expressions because very often they're called academic skills and study strategies. And what is meant by these skills is an array of skills which tackle the process of organizing and taking in new information, retaining information, or dealing with assessments. And very often, college students in their first year lack these skills, which may lead to poor academic performance. To tackle this problem, universities offer a variety of resources to help students overcome the problem. And these resources usually range from useful links, a collection of links, like, here are some links, you can listen to you can watch online videos, you can use some checklists, which are supposed to help you to learn. And a lot of universities also provide special orientation courses, like, an orientation week or special organizational skill courses and everything. So basically, each university chooses its own strategy in supporting their students. But if we look at this, here is just one of the examples of study skills. I provide the link to where I got this from, because different universities list different skills according to what they find their students are lacking. So here is a number of study skills, but of course, the list is much, much longer, and it's very, very different depending on the university. And here are some examples. Like, for example, this Canadian university provides workshops on academic skills and provides handouts that the students can download. So basically, they're supposed to attend the workshops, to use the handouts, so that they would be able to know how to learn better. Dartmouth University has a special academic skills center, and it provides a lot of general study tips, something that you can read, that you can use. But as we know, tips are not the same as providing tutorials and workshops. And for example, Texas University has a student learning assistance center, which provides a lot of reference sheets. And you see a number of skills that are listed and that it offers reference sheets for. So basically, as I said, different universities choose different strategies. But the thing is that no matter what strategy you choose, they all require resources, because you have to use resources to put those strategies into action. You need human resources, you need time resources to collect useful links. You need even more human resources and time to be able to provide workshops for students. You need even more resources to organize a study center or an academic skills center and be there for your students to support them. But as we all know, a very popular saying begins with the phrase, you can lead a horse to the water, and I think you all know how the saying ends. And unfortunately, this can be very, very true, because very often students just don't realize that they lack those skills. They don't know if they lack study skills, they don't know how to learn those skills and how to start applying them. So they need a lot of support and a lot of care. Now, is there a better way to teach students how to study? And by the way, study skills are also part of those general skills which are needed to succeed in an academic environment. We believe that there is a better way, because we can always incorporate some study skills into online English courses. Like, for example, low-level general English courses that you can find on Sky's platform. And by the way, I'm going to tell you just in a few minutes how you can get free access to all those materials and to try them out with your students. So anyway, those courses include lessons that teach students, for example, how to organize their time, how to plan preparations for exams, how to deal with everyday tasks, both within and outside a course, how to resist stress, which is also very, very important, how to set up good relationships with co-students, and so on. And if you look at this list of skills, they will come very, very close to the so-called soft skills, because study skills are the soft skills which are needed by students, whereas working in a business environment or in some other workplace may require some other soft skills as well. So basically, I suggest that we take a look, that we approach study skills as a particular example of soft skills on the university level. And let me show you some examples. I'm going to show some course content from different resources and different courses that are there on Sky's platform. Here is an example from Skylight. This is the A2 level, which is the first book in the series, and the first book, the first course in the series. And if you look at it, you will see that a lot of units are dedicated to teaching students to learn to plan different activities. In the first lesson, in the first unit, we see how they plan to meet, we see how they plan a party, and this already takes some organizational skills. So basically, we begin not with the study skills per se as such, but we begin rather with the things that the students will be familiar with. And then we teach them those skills, and then we begin a transfer of those skills onto the educational matters. Because you see, the unit 3 is called Hitting the Books, and we teach them to plan for the exams, and we teach them to use the SMART model of planning. And then there is a change of plans, and we teach our students to be flexible. Let's have a look at some of the examples of what can be used. Here are some teaching notes, and the teacher's notes are there for every lesson and for every single exercise. So here the teachers are focused not so much on planning skills, but on incorporating the planning skills into their teaching schedule and into focusing on the language through teaching students to plan. And then students are taught to plan because they explain that planning is important for their success. They're taught to use Google Calendar. They're taught to use online tables. They're taught to use different tools in this lesson to learn to plan their time. And they need to share their timetables to show how they plan, and they need to discuss these things. There are a lot of lessons dedicated to planning. And as I said, there is an entire unit which is dedicated to helping students to learn to plan preparation for the exams. And they learn about different exam tips. They still use the language. They do the listening, they do the reading tasks, they do writing, they do speaking, but they speak about those things, they listen about things, they read about things which they need to learn to become better students, to learn to study better. And for example, here we tell them about SMART goals and SMART planning, and they need to learn how to make their goals specific. They need to learn how to make their goals measurable. They need to learn how to make their goals achievable, relevant, and time-based. So they learn to do this. Then they discuss, they write about their SMART goals, which will help them prepare for the English exam together with the other students. And they decide which tools they use to plan the details of the work. So basically, they learn to use different tools. They learn to use planning. They learn to use different planning models to better prepare for the exams. But it is not only about the exams, because as you see, this is the ending of one of the lesson. At the end of every lesson, they have a list of can-do statements so that they would know what they have been learning, what they have learned to do, and what they can do now. So for example, here they tick the things that they can do after one of the very first lessons in the course. They can make plans, they can discuss leisure activities, they can speak about their and other people's abilities, and they can show enthusiasm for people's ideas and suggestions, which is another skill, not so much about planning, but rather a communication skill. They also learn to plan things, to do things outside the classroom. Like, for example, they learn to make traveling plans, to consider transportation, accommodation, and some other things. They also learn to plan their budget for traveling, for some events, and other things. So planning is one of the key words in Skylike A2 book, but this is just one of the many skills that the students are taught. And here are some examples of how they incorporate study skills, in the courses, because study skills and life skills, so basically the skills that the students need to learn to solve different life problems and to do everyday things, which seem so easy for us to do now that we're adult learners, and not even learners, but rather adult teachers. And that seemed to be so difficult for us when we were just studying. So look at this. So here are some more examples. Like, they learn to switch to different plans. They learn to make events a huge success. They learn how to make a difference. They learn to do some other things. They learn to do networking, and this is an example from a different course. Not Skylike, but the next one, Good Vibes. So they learn how they can build a network. They learn how to build a network outside the classroom, and they will need this knowledge when they grow up and when they become, when they graduate from the university. But they also need to learn how they can join campus groups to feel connected and to become more successful, to cope with stress, to make new friends and everything. So basically, we still practice the vocabulary, we still practice the grammar, we still teach our students how they can achieve the goals. But since these are general courses, they are not discipline specific, if I can put it like this, but rather they take the place of orientation weeks. They take the place of academic study centers. They take the place of special workshops, because we save the students time. We teach them how to take responsibility for their own actions and for their own studies, and how to do these things. And there is a big number of different types of study skills in SKY's courses, like planning, exam preparations, networking at the university, cross-cultural collaboration to study, creating a healthy lifestyle for students, like, because we know that in order to be able to memorize things, in order to be able to be productive, you need to plan your days in such a way that you get enough rest, you get enough sleep, and you need to find this balance between your life and your work, which still seems to be a very difficult issue for many of us, myself included. We also teach our students critical thinking skills, soft skills, presenting, and so on. Like, for example, here is a unit on presentation taken from one of the courses, and you see that this unit is very structured, and it begins with structuring the presentation and goes on through presenting, introducing ideas, delivering the presentation, concluding, handling questions, bringing the presentation alive, overcoming public speech anxiety, and as the final project, students deliver their presentations. Then here are some more course contents. Like, for example, here is course content, for example, from Good Vibes at B2 level. And here we talk about creative thinking, critical thinking, work issues, choosing a career path, business soft skills, what else? Human factors and psychology. So basically that's all about communication, problems and solutions, and presentations and conferences again. And we have an academic writing course where students learn not only about different types of academic writing and learn to write those things, but also they learn to write research papers, and they learn to organize a research paper, and they learn to write reports and conference papers. So basically, we literally take the students by the hand, start by teaching them about organizing their time, planning things, about learning. And then as we move on, as we progress, as the students become older and more experienced and more sophisticated, we teach them the things that they need to succeed in their studies furthermore. I'm ready to answer any questions if you have them. Like Lilia writes, students like to study on your platform. Thank you. All right. So there are some things, but most of those things go to Svetlana Vladimirovna Titova. And the final presentation will be in Russian. But before we move on to that presentation, and I know that a lot of people have been waiting for this presentation because it will deal with the changes in the final exam model and everything. Let me, before we do that, because I know that we have people from other countries who will be more interested right now in getting their certificates because they don't speak much Russian, obviously. So let me tell you how you can get your certificates. All right. So to get your certificate and a collection of teaching resources that we have put together for you, you have been asking for resources from Svetlana Titova, but we also have prepared a collection of resources. Now, what you need to do what you need to get your certificates and that collection of teaching resources, you need to go to this website, uniskis.com. The link will appear in the chat right now, but you see the link on your screen, so it's easy to type. Now, to make sure that only those people who were present at the conference get their certificates, you need to sign up because you have the link. You will be able to sign up. It's free and it is needed since you will get free access to all SKYS materials for a month as well. So what you have seen today, what other people have been talking about, will be there for you to try, for you to use with your students, for you to download, because there are some downloadable materials as well. Now, once you are on the platform and once you have signed up, you need to go to the section which is called SKYS Events. And there you will find the download link for the resource bank and the form to fill for the certificate, so that the certificate will bear your name in exactly the way you prefer to write it, so that we wouldn't make any typos and there wouldn't be any problems, and you will surely get the certificates with your names spelled exactly as you normally spell them. Your certificate will be issued and it will be sent to the email address you've specified in the next 2 weeks, depending on the number of certificate requests, because we had over 1,000 registrations for the conference. We see a few hundred people watching the conference, but some people have been joining us. There were people who left us, but they wrote to me saying that they will be back closer by the end of the conference. If you cannot fill in the form to get your certificates right after the conference is over, we will still send you a follow-up email telling you how to get your certificate early next week, so you will not miss anything. This is what the certificate is going to look like. It will say that it's Certificate of Attendance, it's awarded to the name and the surname, and then it will bear the name of the conference and the signatures of the organizers of the conference, and that is Dr. Svetlana Titova and the head of SKYS. Here are some things that you may find in the downloadable resources bank. There are some games. There are things, there are ideas how to deal with grammar traps. There are different games and activities, and this is what they're going to look like. Like, for example, that's how you can use mind maps. Here are the guidelines. Here are the things you can use. So basically, these are activities that are applicable to students of every age, basically, starting from secondary school. We would also be happy if you can follow SKYS on social media. we have our groups both on Instagram, on Facebook, on Telegram. So if you'd like to, if you could you please take a screenshot, take a picture, use the codes to follow SkyS and get links to some other resources, because we regularly post useful information there about some other events, about some resources and everything. Okay, so people are saying thanks a lot, many thanks, and so on. I hope you've had the time to make the screenshots or to take the pictures, to follow the QR codes. And as I said, the final presentation will be in Russian. So let me switch into Russian now and announce the title of the presentation. Итак, уважаемые коллеги, у нас следующая тема, которую, я знаю, очень многие ждали. Тема звучит следующим образом. Изменения в КИМ-ЕГЭ. Акцент на метапредметность, личностные результаты и практикоориентированность. И я с удовольствием объявляю нашего следующего выступающего, кому дана почетная роль завершить конференцию, ответить на ваши вопросы, если у вас ответы будут. Ирина Анатольевна Басова, кандидат педагогических наук, доцент кафедры теории преподавания иностранных языков, факультет иностранных языков регионоведения МГУ имени Ломоносова, заместитель руководителя Федеральной комиссии разработчиков контрольно-измерительных материалов по иностранным языкам ФИПИ. Ирина Анатольевна, очень рада вас слышать, видеть, и огромное спасибо за то, что нашли возможность и время для этого выступления конференции.
Спасибо большое, что пригласили, спасибо большое, что представили. Наверное, мне все-таки на всякий случай надо и по-английски представиться, вдруг кто-то с нами еще остается. So, dear colleagues, hello, dear participants of the conference, I'm very glad you've joined us. And, well, my name is Irina Basova, and at the moment I'm working at the Faculty of Foreign Languages and Area Studies of Moscow State University as an associate professor. And as well as that, I'm trying to help our Federal Institute of Pedagogical Calculations to get the materials for the Russian state exam prepared. And that's exactly what I'm going to talk today, with the emphasis on the way soft skills are evaluated, soft skills of our students are evaluated in the examination materials. Итак, дорогие коллеги, как совершенно верно Алексей уже сказал, сейчас мы будем с вами говорить о том, каким образом универсальные умения, или так называемые soft skills, представлены в экзаменационных материалах ЕГЭ 2022 года. Я сейчас поделюсь презентацией. Я прошу простить меня за мой голос, немного простужена, но, к сожалению, здесь вряд ли что-то могу с этим сделать. Надеюсь, что сейчас открывается презентация, ее хорошо видно, а меня хорошо слышно. No, sorry. No. Ну, наверное, я должна начать с того, собственно, почему в этом году появились какие-то изменения в экзаменационных материалах. Не секрет, что в 2012 году мы перешли на новый ГОС, это федеральный государственный образовательный стандарт, в соответствии с которым у нас происходит обучение в школе. И закончился цикл обучения по этому стандарту, и в связи с этим, ну, то есть 10-летний цикл, да, и в связи с этим необходимо было внести определенные изменения в КИМ-ЕГЭ с тем, чтобы экзаменационные материалы соответствовали задачам федерального государственного образовательного стандарта, которые несколько сместили акценты в сторону следующих моментов. Усилена практикоориентированность, идет акцент на деятельностный характер предмета иностранный язык, идет акцент на метапредметность и межпредметность. Большое внимание уделяется воспитательному потенциалу дисциплины предмета иностранный язык в школе и личностной ориентированности, собственно, этого предмета, и таким образом и заданий экзаменационных тоже. Смотрите, очень интересная вещь. Что касается soft skills, то есть универсальных умений, где это заложено в нашем стандарте? У нас это таким образом не называется в стандартах школьных универсальные умения, и компетенций в школьных стандартах тоже нет, да? То есть это абсолютно вузовская история. Что у нас есть здесь? Есть результаты обучения, И есть три группы таких результатов. Это предметные результаты, метапредметные и личностные. Предметные результаты – это именно то, что в плане умений видов речевой деятельности, в плане навыков лексических, грамматических, фонетических должен уметь делать выпускник 11 класса. Да? В том, что касается метапредметных умений или межпредметных умений, это как раз частью и soft skills тоже, да? Но soft skills будут присутствовать и в метапредметных умениях, и в личностных результатах обучения, да? Тоже будут они. То есть и communication, и collaboration, и critical thinking. Все это будет входить и в личностные, и в метапредметные результаты обучения в школе. Собственно, вот чтобы нам эту задачу каким-то образом осуществить, следующие два слайда, они о том, что, значит, на базовом уровне есть одни требования к выпускникам школы, на продвинутом уровне есть другие требования, это совершенно очевидно. Просто после того, как мы провели апробацию в мае 2021 года и сейчас в Петербурге, вот буквально в прошлом месяце, новых заданий, новых форматов ЕГЭ, в профессиональном сообществе было высказано очень много опасений о том, что, собственно, задания новые очень сложные, ребята к ним не готовы. Ну и в подтверждении того, что, в общем, мы имеем на это определенное право, мы говорим о том, что задания новые, а не задания высокого уровня сложности, повышенного, да, и таким образом совершенно естественно, что их уровень несколько отличается от заданий базового уровня сложности, да. Так, собственно, какие изменения, о чем идет речь? Изменения внесены в разделы 4, это раздел «Письменная речь», и раздел 5, это раздел «Говорение». Что поменялось? Задание 39. Теперь это электронное письмо личного характера в ответ на письмо стимул зарубежного друга по переписке. Раньше это было просто письмо личного характера. Но здесь, вы понимаете, здесь просто требование времени. Да? Никто сейчас не обменивается традиционными письмами, в основном все пишут имейлы. Но в связи с этим и ребятам-выпускникам тоже нужно будет написать имейл. Задание 40 – это развернутое письменное высказывание с элементами рассуждения на основе таблицы или диаграммы по предложенной теме проектной работы. Вот, собственно, здесь мы постарались как можно больше soft skills задействовать тем или иным способом. Смотрите, значит, высказывание с элементами рассуждения, то есть определенным образом креативность здесь понадобится совершенно точно. Проектная работа, да, это collaboration, как вы понимаете. Работа с таблицами, с диаграммами, работа с инфографикой – это тоже важное межпредметное, метапредметное такое умение, которое в современных условиях совершенно необходимо. И надо сказать, что довольно безосновательные страхи, опасения того, что наши выпускники не умеют пользоваться инфографикой, умеют прекрасно. И результаты апробации это показали, я подробно про них дальше еще поговорю. С этими заданиями справились практически, то есть на том или ином уровне практически 100% участвующих в апробации учеников, поэтому больше того, в других предметах, да, в ЕГЭ инфографика есть давно, таблицы и диаграммы, скажем, общество знаний, в общем, ребята совершенно привычны с этим работать. И, значит, время выполнения письменной части в связи с этим было увеличено на 10 минут, но все-таки задание новое, да, то есть чтобы ребята имели чуть больше возможности сориентироваться. В говорении в задании 2 уменьшено число задаваемых вопросов, это там, где у нас есть определенное рекламное объявление, нужно задать вопросы по этому объявлению, да, то есть просто меньше их будет. Задание 3. Описание картинки одной, которая раньше было, теперь его больше не будет, будет условный диалог-интервью, в котором необходимо ответить на 5 вопросов на какую-то актуальную тему. Но это задание еще в прошлом году было введено в формат ОГЭ. Хорошо себя зарекомендовала, оно хорошо работает. Это возможность не дать односложный ответ на какой-то вопрос, а в принципе поговорить на предложенную тему, потому что вопросы будут сформулированы так, что одним предложением на них ответить будет нельзя, они будут такие многосоставные, многосложные. Но бояться здесь тоже нечего, потому что предметная, так скажем, сфера общения, да, она совершенно не поменялась, то есть говорить нужно будет о том же самом, о всем том, что прописано в спецификации, что прописано в кодификаторе, да, как предметное содержание речи. Environment, friendship, education, traveling, books и так далее. Да, то есть ничего, internet, ничего другого. Задание 4. Голосовое сообщение другу, вместе с которым выполняется проектная работа. Опять-таки, да, здесь мы видим определенного рода mediation, и здесь мы постарались какую-то провести параллель с CEFRAM, да, с Common European Framework of References 2018 года, где медиация появилась. Значит, опять-таки, это проектная работа, соответственно, это collaboration. И в этом сообщении надо кратко описать две предложенные фотографии по теме проекта, обосновать их выбор в качестве иллюстрации и выразить свое мнение по теме проектной работы не конкретно по картинке, а вообще по теме проектной работы. Ну и здесь мы ожидаем вовлечения таких soft skills, как collaboration и critical thinking, с тем, чтобы обоснованно ребята могли высказать свою точку зрения. И не ожидаем никаких заученных текстов, поскольку последние несколько лет, собственно, почему были вынуждены отказаться от предыдущих форматов, то, что видели в основном эксперты на экзамене, это были такие довольно заученные чанки, такие текста. Вот, чтобы от этого уйти, вот мы предложили новые форматы заданий. Да? Значит, как я уже говорила, прошла апробация. Вот это майская апробация. Значит, по английскому языку в ней участвовало 1620 человек в письменной части апробации, в устной части чуть поменьше, но вы видите, по другим языкам тоже все это проходило, и сейчас, как я говорила, повторную апробацию провели в Санкт-Петербурге уже по окончательной демо-версии, которую вы на сайте FIPI можете найти, и анализ результатов выполнения и качества данных новых заданий подтверждает их соответствие заявленному уровню сложности и проблем в конструкции заданий или системе оценивания или каких-то других проблем у участников апробации выявлено не было. Вот, значит, сейчас демо-версию на сайте доступна, ее можно посмотреть, но все-таки так будет выглядеть электронное письмо. Правый нижний угол у нас с вами – это английский язык. Вы видите, что вместо слова letter теперь появилось email message. You have received an email message. И дальше в конце write an email to Ronnie in your message. И дальше то, что нужно сделать в этом, собственно, сообщении. Но нужно сказать о том, что если участники экзамена будут писать в ответ слово letter, это тоже будет засчитано как правильный вариант, поскольку мы же не говорим о той ситуации, когда нам приходит email коротенький из серии let's meet at 7, и мы в ответ сразу присылаем OK. Это не тот вариант, да, это довольно большое письмо стимул. Не исключено, что ответ на него мы даем там, спустя какое-то время, поэтому слово letter здесь вполне нормально работает, как и обращение, ну, скажем, dear Ronnie. Не только hi Ronnie или hello или hi there или любой другой неформальный вариант обращения, но и формат обращения dear Ronnie тоже будет засчитан как возможно. Да? Ну, может быть, два слова. Здесь, конечно, меньше про soft skills, но гораздо больше про, собственно, то, как будет оцениваться задание. И, конечно, люди, кто сегодня пришли меня послушать, наверное, ну, то есть это одна из основных целей, поэтому я решила все-таки это включить. И здесь остановлюсь на критериях оценивания и на тех изменениях, которые у них были внесены. Значит, по-прежнему все-таки три аспекты оцениваются, точнее, три критерия существуют. Это решение коммуникативной задачи, здесь 6 аспектов, организация текста, 8 компонентов, о которых сейчас поговорю, языковое оформление, это лексика, грамматика, орфография, пунктуация. Значит, что касается объема, здесь ничего не изменилось. По-прежнему отступление от заданного объема составляет 10%. По-прежнему, если слов менее 90, задание проверки не подлежит оцениваться в 0 баллов. И по-прежнему при превышении объема более чем на 10% проверке подлежат только первые 140 слов. То есть об этом нужно, конечно, тоже студентов предупреждать, ребят, учащихся. Что касается подсчета слов, сокращенные формы мы считаем одним словом. Числа цифрами написанные считаем одним словом. Сокращение. Сложные слова, well-bred, easygoing, English speaking, считаем одним словом. И подпись тоже считаем за слово. Поскольку адрес теперь мы не включаем, то есть поскольку это электронное письмо, это не принято, адрес раньше нужен был и нужна была дата, сейчас это не нужно, но я подчеркиваю, что если оно там будет, это ничего страшного, просто, то есть никто не будет снижать баллы за наличие адреса и даты, но в подсчет слов вот это больше не входит, да, то есть и больше не является обязательным требованием. Значит, какие 6 аспектов у нас есть по первому критерию? Значит, первые 3 аспекта – это наличие ответов на вопросы друга по переписке. Здесь рандомно совершенно я выбрала, да, из дополнительной схемы пример, то есть это могут быть вопросы о чем угодно, в зависимости от того, о чем, собственно, эти вопросы в письме стимуле, да, значит, ответ на первый вопрос дан, ответ на второй, ответ на третий. Важно обратить внимание, обращать внимание своих учеников на то, что если вопрос состоит из двух частей, ну, не знаю, do you enjoy summary, why not, or why yes, там, или and why, значит, ответ на этот вопрос должен содержать два элемента, да, любит ли человек лето или не любит, и, собственно, почему, да, то есть оба должны компоненты там быть. 3 вопроса заданы о том, к чему потом переходит ваш друг переписки. Нормы вежливости соблюдены. Как видите, благодарность за полученное письмо осталась, появилась новая или выражение положительных эмоций от его получения. Ну, положительные эмоции – это что-то из серии I'm glad to hear from you. Обратите внимание, что теперь нет такого компонента, как ссылка на предыдущие контакты. Она действительно не обязательна. То есть, ну, просто в имейлах довольно редко это встречается, но если вдруг ваш учащийся на экзамене пишет, не знаю, I'm very glad to hear from you again, где again является ссылкой на предыдущие контакты, это тоже хорошо, то есть никто за это баллов снижать не будет, просто требуется это больше не будет. Ну и, собственно, стилевое оформление, обращение, завершение, подпись, все в соответствии с неофициальным стилем, здесь изменений нет. Да, здесь у нас примеры благодарности. Значит, мы имеем в виду, что I was glad to get your letter без благодарности не может быть засчитано как благодарность, потому что это восклицательное выражение положительных эмоций. Да? То есть, ну, просто здесь нужно эти вещи различать. Thanks for your letter, it was great to hear from you. Это уже благодарность непосредственно. Значит, про обращение тоже я уже говорила. Здесь важный момент, что приниматься будут все варианты обращений, которые вы сейчас видите на экране, то есть 7 вариантов, да, Dear Lily, Hi Lily и так дальше. Значит, также будут приниматься короткие варианты с восклицательным знаком, чего раньше, конечно, в обычном личном письме мы не принимали, ну, типа Hi there с восклицательным знаком. Такие варианты тоже будут приниматься и считаться правильными, да? Значит, обращение dear friend, завершающую фразу sincerely yours, формальный, да, или подпись автора вместе с фамилией не принимаются, да, то есть это считается за ошибку и будет отражено, соответственно, в доп-схеме, с которой работают эксперты. В каких случаях по критерию решения коммуникативной задачи ставится 0? Ну, это маленький объем недостаточный. Если жанр письма заменен письменным высказыванием с элементами рассуждения или в письме нет ничего, что характерно для, собственно, оформления такого письма, даже имейла, ну, в таком случае, и если 3 или более аспектов содержания отсутствуют или 5 аспектов раскрыты не полностью, те аспекты, о которых я говорила до этого, да, то в таком случае за РКЗ решение коммуникативной задачи участник экзамена получает 0, и, к сожалению, дальше работа его не оценивается, да. Что касается критерия организации текста, здесь у нас логичность, деление на абзацы, средства логической связи, обращение на отдельной строке, завершающая фраза на отдельной строке и подпись на отдельной строке. Как видите, ушел отсюда адрес, ушло, как я уже говорила, ушла дата. Остальное все осталось. Ну и, собственно, здесь 0 можно получить, если есть 3 более логические ошибки или имеются 3 более нарушения в средствах логической связи, или деление текста на абзацы отсутствует, или имеются 3 более нарушения принятых форм оформления личного письма. Да? То есть вот так это оценивается. Значит, что касается языкового оформления, ну, собственно, это ошибки. Да? Из хороших новостей однотипные ошибки считаются 1 раз. Дальше такой важный момент, скорее для экспертов, чем для участников, но все равно важно это знать, что ошибки типа then или there считаются как лексическая, а ошибка it is с апострофом, да, это ошибка грамматическая. Ну, здесь мы еще говорим всегда, что если мы не можем понять, какое слово в итоге написано из-за большого количества исправлений, мы все-таки считаем это в пользу учащегося. Это обычно принято так. Часто эксперты задают вопросы про то, и учителя, что, собственно, считается пунктуационной ошибкой. Так вот, значит, как мы уже с вами говорили, обращения могут быть с восклицательным знаком «пожалуйста», но если они без имени, ну, то есть «hi» и «hi there» подошло бы, а вот «hi Jane», наш с вами 4-й вариант здесь, он, к сожалению, нам не подходит, да, то есть не является общепринятым. Значит, отсутствие запятой после обращения ошибкой не является, как мы договорились. Ошибкой считается восклицательный знак, да, если есть имя. Ошибкой также в этом личном электронном письме будет считаться восклицательный знак после завершающей фразы. Там best wishes с восклицательным знаком, например. Однако восклицательные знаки в конце предложений thank you for your letter, write back soon ошибкой не считаются. Точка после подписи считается ошибкой, и после завершающей фразы точка тоже считается ошибкой. То есть после best wishes мы ставим запятую или best regards, а после имени мы ничего не ставим. Да? Ну, собственно, какие делают обычно ошибки экзаменуемые? Это непонимание формата, неполные ответы на вопросы друга, ошибки в организации текста, особенно из средств логической связи, языковые ошибки, превышение и уменьшение нужного объема. То есть это такие стандартные вещи, которые из года в год, к сожалению, повторяются. Но здесь, значит, вопросы экспертов, которые часто возникают, я решила тоже некоторые из них осветить, чтобы, может быть, это будет полезно, да, для учителей. Ну, например, see you soon or write you soon. Принимается ли это как надежда на будущий контакт? Нет, не принимается, потому что will write you soon или see you soon – это такие фразы обещания автора письма, а не выражение его надежды на то, что друг ему скоро ответит. Да? То есть такие вещи мы, к сожалению, принять не можем. Как оценивать ошибку в имени адресата, если в задании дается одно имя друга в переписке, а участник экзамена в обращении в ответном письме использует другое имя? Ну, в этом случае, к сожалению, считается, что правильное обращение отсутствует, это отражается в оценивании по аспекту 6 в решении коммуникативной задачи. Если учащийся задал 4 вопроса вместо 3, и один не может быть принят, можем ли мы считать, что коммуникативная задача выполнена? Ну, здесь да, потому что обязательным являются 3 вопроса. Да, если даже 4-й не туда и мимо, то это не страшно. От участника требуется задать 3 вопроса, баллы снижены не будут. Снижается ли оценка, если в задании есть имя и фамилия в подписи? Ну, в принципе, да, я уже об этом говорила, да, это нарушение стиля, и за это мы снижаем. Логические ошибки. Это очень часто встречается такой вопрос, и больше того, по-прежнему ребята продолжают эту ошибку делать, особенно тогда, когда должен быть логический мостик, после того, как даны ответы на вопросы, и дальше должен учащийся перейти к своим вопросам. И ребята часто пишут просто «Oh, what great news» или «My congratulations», не объясняя, собственно, с чем они поздравляют или о каких хороших новостях идет речь. То есть написать нужно, по крайней мере, что-то типа «Oh, it's great news that your father has bought a new car». Ну, или о чем бы то ни было, письмо-стимул, да, то есть мостик, вот этот вот переход должен быть. Значит, считается ли нарушением организации текста, если вопросы другу даются до ответов на вопросы друга? Нет. Если это сделано без очевидной нарушения логики, то оценка по организации текста не снижается. Можно ли считать нарушением организации текста, если ответы на вопросы идут каждый в отдельном абзаце? Нет, это не ошибка в том случае, если абзац не состоит из одного простого предложения. Если это полноценный абзац, то это не ошибка. Если ответы на вопросы даны не в том порядке, снижать ли оценку по критерию организации текста? Но опять, тут такая же ситуация, если очевидного нарушения логики нет, то нет, это не ошибка. Ну и вот теперь, собственно, переходим к вот этому вот новому заданию 40-му, да, которое у нас как раз и призвано отвечать задаче, проверить сформированность вот этих универсальных умений. У нас soft skills по-русски принято называть универсальными умениями. Ну и вот, собственно, это задание. Смотрите, что получилось. Оно несколько видоизменилось после того, как прошла апробация. Мы получали большое количество комментариев от учителей, от вообще профессионального такого сообщества и от школьников в том числе, на адрес приходило очень много писем. Что получилось? Значит, получилось на выбор 2 варианта задания, как вы видите, либо это таблица, либо это диаграмма. Это проект в любом случае. Появилось вот это слово Zetland. Если вы посмотрите на формулировку, imagine that you are doing a project on what book genres are popular among teenagers in Zetland. Хотите among, хотите with, ничего не меняется. Или в случае задания 42, здесь у нас what people use their smartphones for. Zetland – это такая несуществующая страна. Почему она была добавлена? Потому что часто ребята на апробации писали так, как будто бы это исследование они проводили сами. Да? То есть это не совсем так, чтобы от этого уйти. Что еще поменялось? Обратите внимание в план того, как должно выглядеть письменное высказывание. На план, точнее. Да? Make an opening statement on the subject of the project. Select and report 2-3 facts, make 1-2 comparisons where relevant, outline a problem that can arise with this particular thing, suggest a way of solving it, and conclude by giving your opinion on the importance of reading for teenagers или там on the use of smartphones. По этому плану, значит, часто задают, собственно, вопрос о том, что это за форма, что это, report, это эссе, что это. Это не то, ни другое, ни какое-то третье, это вот именно так, как оно называется в всех официальных документах, это письменное высказывание с элементами рассуждения, потому что если бы это был традиционный report, то мы бы не просили высказывать свои мнения или какую-то проблему потенциальную обозначать и предлагать варианты ее решения, да, то есть это такой, собственный, можно сказать, наш формат, не совсем сопоставимый с форматом, скажем, Miles, да, о котором нам все время говорят и пишут. Значит, an opening statement, это некое введение, которое необходимо сделать. Да? Что касается selecting and reporting 2-3 facts, раньше в первом варианте в мае было select and report 2-3 main facts. Мы убрали main, потому что совершенно справедливо писали нам комментарии о том, как понять, это главные факты или не главные факты, и как это будет оцениваться. Любые факты. Хотите говорить о animal stories и adventure, пожалуйста. Хотите говорить sport stories и romance, пожалуйста. Да? То есть просто наличие вот этих вот фактов обозначенных будет играть какую-то роль дальше в оценивании. Я покажу потом. Значит, что касается making comparisons where relevant, то же самое. Здесь как раз речь идет о critical thinking skills и о умении работать с инфографическим материалом. Да? Естественно, с языковой точки зрения по-прежнему while, where и другие связки для сопоставления и противопоставления будут экзаменаторов интересовать. Часто задают вопрос, скажем, что может быть за проблема, связанная с чтением книг? Вообще, о чем здесь можно сказать? Как вариант, я бы предложила, наверное, что-то типа it's common knowledge that teenagers nowadays have very little free time and it's hard to find this time to read fiction or any kind of books for fun. Например, да, то есть такая проблема. И как эту проблему можно решить? Что-то на эту тему можно подумать. Можно говорить о другом, что, то есть любые другие варианты с чтением связанные, что, скажем, в библиотеку пойти – это довольно время затратно, а скачать книжку из интернета – это плохо для зрения, не знаю, или для… то есть любые варианты. Опять-таки, никто не будет оценивать, что конкретно за проблему вы идентифицируете. Будут оценивать то, вообще обозначена ли эта проблема и предложено ли ее решение. Да? В том, что касается your opinion, вы видите, это opinion, мнение, вообще никак не связано, собственно, с вот этими цифрами статистики в диаграмме, простите, или в таблице. Мнение связано с темой проекта в целом, да? То есть это абсолютно свободное такое выражение своего мнения. И, значит, опять-таки, никто не будет говорить, что мнение ваше правильное или неправильное, а будут оценивать лишь его наличие и языковое оформление. Так, и вот, наверное, я должна показать, как оценивается будет это задание. И это как раз то, о чем я говорила, чтобы развеять все сомнения, опасения. Значит, те же 3 аспекта, как вы видите: решение коммуникативной задачи, организация текста, языковое оформление. Да? То есть просто лексика, грамматика, орфография, пунктуация будут отдельно рассмотрены. И посмотрите, аспект 1. Вступление соответствует предложенной теме проектной работы. То есть вступление не просто там, не знаю, из головы, да, а именно о чтении, о том, что it's common knowledge that reading has always been popular and teenagers have always enjoyed and needed reading various sorts of books. Это будет достаточно для вступления, да, то есть ничего другого очень умного там говорить не нужно. Да. 2-3 факта из данных в таблице приведены, опять-таки, как я уже говорила, исключительно их наличие. Существенные сравнения даны 1-2. Проблема, связанная с чтением, обозначена, решение предложено, наличие, мнение автора в заключении выражено. Да, как я уже говорила, любое мнение. Естественно, здесь средства логической связи, как вы видите, дальше в организации текста всегда есть, поэтому coherence, cohesion никто не отменял. However, moreover, to sum up, все там мы пишем. То есть это, как вы видите, совершенно нетрадиционный такой report в IELTS, хотя нас упрекали в том, что ну зачем вы берете IELTS-овский формат, это не совсем то. И, значит, стилевое оформление выбрано правильно, но это нейтральный стиль. Ну, даже так я бы сказала, что он не должен быть неформальным. Ну, то есть это не электронное письмо, это не email однозначно, да. Вот. В плане организации текста логичность, здесь как раз имеется в виду логичность перехода от одного пункта плана к другому с соблюдением какой-то общей логики повествования, наличие абзацев и вот эти вот мостики, переходные слова, вводные слова, извините, которые быть там должны. Ну, лексика, грамматика, орфография, пунктуация, само собой, тоже будут оцениваться. И, наверное, должна остановиться вот, собственно, на этом 4-м задании устной части, тоже очень много опасений и очень много сомнений, попытаюсь кое-что прояснить. Значит, у нас с вами проект, опять-таки, Project Life Without Gadgets, и задача экзаменуемого оставить такое голосовое сообщение своему другу. Мне часто спрашивают, ну, собственно, как бы, когда в реальной жизни кто-то оставляет сообщение на автоответчик. Ну, может быть, на автоответчик и не очень часто ребята оставляют, но в WhatsApp записывают голосовые сообщения постоянно. Да? То есть для них это не удивительный формат, им понятно, почему они должны это сделать. Вот. И что ожидается от учащихся? Значит, первый пункт плана – краткое описание фотографий, которое ну, каким-то образом объясняет, точнее как, они должны еще объяснить, почему именно эти фотографии они выбрали для проекта. Звучать это должно приблизительно так. Hello, Anne. I found 2 photos for our project. I want to share them with you. And I believe they're very good because they illustrate that, illustrate the fact that nowadays people could very well live without gadgets, as well as deal with their life needs with the gadgets. И как пример, да, то есть я не готовила заранее, ну, то есть какого-то что-то типа такого introduction. Say in what way the pictures are different. Ну, здесь, понимаете, учить надо, ребят, уходить от, собственно, такого описания, которое мы слышали часто в предыдущие годы, ну, описание типа на первой картинке девочка в очках, а на второй не в очках. Или на первой картинке все происходит в библиотеке, а на второй картинке в доме. Да? Вот этого не нужно делать, нужно учить все-таки мыслить глубже, уходить в содержание, а не в форму. Да? Собственно, цель-то такая, когда мы готовим к экзамену единому государственному, в общем, формат форматом, но умения мы развиваем, навыки мы развиваем, soft skills мы формируем, универсальные умения. И просто вот здесь, ну, как бы должна быть синергия вот этого всего, которая потом выльется в такую связанную fluent and accurate речь на английском языке, вот, и все-таки осмысленную, да, то есть... Вот. Дальше advantages and disadvantages of the 2 types of books. Хочу сказать, что иногда из того, что мы слышали в апробации, ребята, времени у них будет говорить около 3 минут. На самом деле довольно сложно уложиться в 3 минуты, если серьезно начинать говорить о плюсах и минусах книг, не знаю, традиционных, да, paperback, и книг электронных. Таким образом, вот здесь все-таки необходимо развивать такое умение, как вот такая очень краткое, но емкое выражение своей мысли. Да? То есть мы не можем все 2 минуты говорить про плюсы и минусы чтения книг электронных и чтения книг обычных. Придется еще много других аспектов раскрыть. Да? То есть это нужно, конечно, учить, тренировать, делать. Вот. И в жизни это очень полезно. Не растекаться, да, не лить воду, простите за такой сленг, а, в общем, говорить по делу, говорить очень четко, доносить свою мысль. Ну и дальше у нас, как видите, express your opinion, опять-таки, on the subject of the project, whether you'd like to live without gadgets and why. И здесь на апробации мы слышали очень много всего интересного. Говорит о том, что, в принципе, вот creative thinking очень-то даже развито у наших учащихся. Мы слышали варианты из серии того, что да, я хочу жить без гаджетов, я хочу, вообще жалею, что я родился вот сейчас, а не в 70-е годы в СССР, Ну, то есть много всего слышали интересного, и опять-таки здесь никаких ограничений нет, кроме того, что с точки зрения лексико-грамматической, конечно, речь должна быть оформлена, ну, прилично, да. Вот, ну и, собственно, все. И дальше нужна будет такая завершающая по-прежнему вот эта фраза, которая всегда требовалась, чтобы мы просто понимали, точнее, не мы, эксперты, что, ну, собственно, высказывание закончено, типа that's it, там that's all I wanted to say, и все, собственно, это все, что требуется сделать. Как вы видите, ничего, что выходит за рамки метапредметных, личностных и предметных результатов обучения по ГОСу, ничего в экзамене нет. И мы, в общем, старались, как я уже говорила, подчеркнуть вот эту вот историю с взаимодействием, с универсальными умениями, с проектной работой, с личностной ориентированностью, поэтому свое мнение мы всегда спрашиваем. И вот последнее, что я, наверное, должна показать, это, собственно, критерии оценивания вот этого самого, этого задания. Как видите, решение коммуникативной задачи, организация текста, язык. 4 аспекта в РКЗ, краткое описание, объясняющее выбор фото дано, различие показано. Вы видите, то есть ничего не требуется особенного. Наличие вот этих нескольких предложений о том, что фотографии чем-то отличаются, до буквально 2 предложений, да, оценивается. Достоинства и недостатки названы. Мнение автора по теме проектной работы высказано. Значит, что касается организации текста, здесь у нас с вами наличие вступления с обращением к другу, заключение, завершенность высказывания, логичность использования средств логической связи. И все. Да? Ну и язык, понятно. Тут, конечно, основная задача, которую мы по-прежнему экзаменом выполняем, оцениваем в том числе и предметные результаты, но, естественно, это будет языковое оформление. Вот, и это все, больше ничего нового пока не будет. Несколько лет назад мы представляли перспективную модель, она по-прежнему есть на сайте ФИПИ, она предполагает много заданий нового формата, и они постепенно будут вводиться в экзаменационные задания, но не сразу, наверное, лет в течение 5 по одному заданию, там, каждый год, предположим, так, да, это такой план. Может быть, все будет и не так, но пока вот такой план. Таким образом, значит, какие-то концептуальные идеи мы пробовали реализовать вот в перспективной модели. И вот модели этого года – это, значит, развитие иноязычной коммуникативной компетенции и общей коммуникативной компетенции учащихся их информационной культуры. Значит, воспитание общероссийской идентичности, патриотизма и другие воспитательные моменты – это все за счет содержания текстов. Текстов на чтение, о которых я сегодня не говорила, здесь нет изменений, потому что и текстов на аудирование, то есть с содержательной точки зрения они очень тщательно отбираются. Воспитательный потенциал, их очень большое внимание этому уделяется. Значит, практикоориентированный характер заданий, как я уже говорила, приоритет однозначно продуктивных видов речевой деятельности перед, вообще, продукцией перед рецепцией и акцент на компетентностный подход, универсальные учебные действия, метапредметные умения, о которых сегодня много говорила. Вот, ну и, собственно говоря, интегративный такой подход, который проявляется как во внутреннем, так и во внешнем, вот, по отношению к системе языка речи в единстве измеряемых умений. Здесь я благодарю вас за внимание, очень жду ваши вопросы, предложения, обсуждения. Вот. Если я, к сожалению, я когда захожу, я вижу YouTube, но не вижу вопросов, то есть я, к сожалению, не могу их сама озвучить.
Я сейчас озвучу, прочитаю. Во-первых, хотел сказать спасибо вам огромное, потому что у меня просто телефон разрывается от сообщений, насколько понятнее и логичнее сейчас все стало, и совершенно другими глазами воспринимается теперь ЕГЭ. Очень многие вопросы, которые возникали.
Это замечательно, это была цель, да, наша, так сказать, просветительской работы, да, большое спасибо за это.
Я думаю, что цель абсолютно достигнута. Я, с вашего позволения, зачитаю несколько вопросов, которые в чате были. Вопрос первый. Нужно ли указывать Zetland во введении и вообще где-то указывать, что это именно в Zetland?
Нет, не обязательно. Это можно, но это не обязательно.
Спасибо большое. Второй вопрос. Вот про Zetland спрашивала Екатерина Шадрова, которую мы прекрасно знаем как замечательного эксперта. Второй вопрос задает Елена Александровна Меджибовская. Она автор серии учебников. Я просто знаю, поэтому кого знаю, комментирую. Да. Вопрос такой. Нужно ли покрывать все 5 пунктов из таблицы диаграммы в ответе?
Не обязательно. Такого нигде не написано. Как вы видели, 2-3 facts. Любые facts. Да? 1-2 comparisons. one-to comparisons. Такого нигде ни в критериях нет. Да.
Спасибо большое. Еще вопросы, два вопроса от Елены Александровны. Видимо, очень тема действительно беспокоящая. Можно ли во втором абзаце использовать сравнительную степень и лексику, которая выражает сравнение? Поскольку
конечно, а как же ж не можно? Обязательно нужно.
Точно так же, можно ли писать цифры во втором абзаце? Разрешено ли использовать past simple? Я не очень знаю, от чего такие вопросы возникли.
Даже не могу предположить, с чем связаны такие вопросы. Да, конечно, можно. Все можно.
И еще один вопрос, самый нижний, больше вопросов нет. Можно ли в задании 4 представляться, когда оставляют голосовое сообщение? Например, Hi, John, it's Bob. Или как
конечно, а почему же нельзя?
И я, с вашего позволения, один комментарий прокомментирую. Это не вопрос. Да. А если я прав или не прав, вы мне тогда скажете. Хорошо? Потому что мне просто самому любопытно очень здесь поучаствовать. Комментарий был такой это Елена Михайлова пишет, про задание, где дается описание фотографии в голосовом сообщении. Елена Михайлова пишет: очень странное задание, никто в реальной жизни не оставляет голосовое сообщение с описанием фотографий, проще отправить фото в WhatsApp. Я бы вот как прокомментировал бы. Уважаемые коллеги, дело в том, что коммуникативная эта задача не описать фото, а объяснить, почему оно подходит для проекта.
Да, совершенно верно, именно об этом речь.
Именно отсюда и идет часть описания фото, но там же главное, что это логика.
Там буквально вот про описание нужно сказать одно-два слова в введении, и все. Все остальное, как вы видели уже, да, к описанию не имеет никакого отношения. И больше того, последняя часть – это абсолютно выражение собственного мнения. А потом, как я уже говорила, насчет голосовых сообщений, я понимаю, я тоже не оставляю на автоответчик, но в WhatsApp голосовые сообщения мы оставляем регулярно, да, это стало абсолютной нормой.
А потом, коллеги, знаете, вот моделируем ситуацию. Мне надо, чтобы человек посмотрел фотографию, которую мы отправил, и послушал, что я про нее говорю.
Конечно.
Возможность одновременно это сделать, это отправить одним сообщением фотографию, а вторым голосом как раз и описать. Почему я считаю, что ее в проект включить. Поэтому, на мой взгляд, все очень хорошо укладывается в реальные коммуникативные ситуации, которые...
На наш тоже, да. Как бы поэтому...
Вот, поэтому я еще раз хотел бы сказать спасибо огромное за это выступление.
Спасибо, что пригласили.
И вот очень многие люди пишут огромное спасибо большое, и пишут о том, что жить теперь будет гораздо-гораздо легче, и ЕГЭ становится приятнее и понятнее.
Да, конечно, тут просто как на это смотреть. Вот. И я говорю, что опасения, связанные с тем, что ребята ОГЭ не сдавали, мы знаем, что они его не сдавали, они, то есть, не готовы к ситуации вот этой экзаменационной, готовы, потому что они все будут в одинаковых условиях, и, грубо говоря, соревноваться им нужно друг с другом, а не с выпускниками предыдущих лет. Поэтому все в равной ситуации, абсолютно их нужно успокоить и объяснить, что ничего сверх в ГОСовской программе им вообще делать не нужно. То есть все будет хорошо.
Коллеги, у нас еще много времени для того, чтобы подготовить. Посмотрите, только начало ноября, есть уже финал демо-версии. Все материалы.
Да, обязательно, да, значит, обязательно нужно пользоваться только официальными материалами, заходить на сайт ФИПИ. Сейчас там большая видеоконсультация появилась, Мария Валерьевна, наверное, 22 октября мы ее выложили. Тоже, может быть, какие-то вопросы будут понятнее. После Нового года мы обещаем сделать, уже до конца подготовить методические рекомендации для учителей и для экспертов. Все спрашивают, будут ли сэмплы. Нет, сэмплов не будет, потому что, опять-таки, мы не хотим никаких калькированных ответов на задание 39, задание 40 и задание 4 устной части. Да? То есть как раз для этого мы их меняем, чтобы они перестали быть калькированными. Вот.
Ну что ж, Ирина Анатольевна, спасибо вам огромное.
Спасибо большое вам. Да, спасибо большое, дорогие коллеги. На этом что, прощаемся?
Коллеги, я еще раз скажу про сертификат, как получить, потому что несколько человек писали, что звук зависал, прочее, и были вопросы, можно ли будет в записи пересмотреть. Конечно, в записи можно, но я опять на английский переключусь на случай, если кто-то у нас слушает, кто по-русски не говорит. Okay, so we have been getting a few questions about whether the video recording will still be available and how to get the certificates. Yes, the video recording will be available as soon as the conference is over. The video recording will stay on YouTube, so you can use the same link as you are using now to watch the video. You can save the link, you can add the video to the ones you've liked, you can add the video to your media library, and you can watch it yet again. And to get your certificate and a collection of teaching resources and ideas and activities, you need to go to uniskias.com. The link was sent in the chat. It can appear there right now again. Then you sign up for the platform. It's absolutely free, and we need to do it only for one reason, because by doing this, you will also get free access to SkyS materials for a month. And then you go to the section which is called SkyS Events. And there you will find the download link for the resource bank and the form to fill in for the certificate. And you need to fill in that form just to make sure that the certificate bears your name exactly the way you normally spell it, so that there would be no typos, no problems, and we wouldn't have to resend the certificates. Then we will generate the certificates and we will send them to the email address you specified when you register in the next 2 weeks. And of course, we hope that it will take us much shorter to send out the certificates. But I'm saying 2 weeks just in case we get a lot of certificate requests, because I will not be surprised if some people will sign up their colleagues. But that is okay. This is only a certificate of participation, and we'll also be sending the certificates of to all wonderful speakers. So if you cannot do it after the conference is over, which is in the next 2 minutes, we will still send you a follow-up email telling exactly how to get your certificate, and the email will be sent out early next week. Thank you very much once again, dear colleagues. Thank you for your time. Thank you to our wonderful, wonderful speakers. And I'm really happy that we've had a chance to have this conference delivered and organized by Moscow State University, Faculty of Foreign Languages, Department of Teaching English, by LearnTeachWeb, and by SkyS for Universities platform. Thank you so much, and goodbye.